We're going to play one more song after this. I'm going to play my friend Mega Chiefs band. It's called, they're a blues rock band out of Hillsboro.
Oh, yeah?
And, man, they're good, too. So, I don't need this computer. This is my computer. See, I carry an extra keyboard and a mouse with it because I hate doing laptop mouses.
Right.
But my control and another button over here quit working.
Uh-huh.
And so I carry an extra keyboard.
We're getting a lot of reverb on this, aren't we? But you don't have your headphones in.
Yeah, we don't have any reverb. If you turn your microphone straight up.
Like that?
No. Flip the whole thing over where it's hanging down like mine.
Okay.
Yeah. And then talking to the side, get a little closer, you won't have as much reverb.
Like this. Oh, yeah. We are talking into the side of the mic. We're here from 7 to 9, and we'd love for you to join us. We're Johnson County Paranormal, and we are keeping you up all Friday night. Yes, ma'am.
Man, that was a good little workout for me. Oh, I went back to the gym today.
Oh, yeah?
And then I went home and took about a 45-minute hot bath with Epsom salt and baking soda.
Cool.
Oh, dude, man, it feels so much better. They're here.
You
might
go
go
get
let
them?
them in?
Yeah.
What's it's blind guy, right?
Yeah. Yeah, let's set these other chairs up, back, a couple chairs for in the back for when Cannon let him get up here.
What would you like to do?
Is Wifey Pooh in here?
Nope.
Just you?
Just me. She's stay with the dogs and stay home and drink.
Huh?
She's gonna stay with the dogs and drink.
Cool.
And
Well, y'all might want to pre-order a little bit of what I got to sample you. Right here?
Oh,
where would you like?
Here, you ready to go. Chad, I'm sorry. What's your field of vision?
Nothing.
Sorry about that.
No, you're good.
Wasn't sure.
You want to give him this microphone?
Yeah. Here. You got it.
Yes, sir.
And we are live. I'm going to hand you my new hat. This is my Sasquatch Radio hat, and let you see if you can figure it out.
Well, first of all, it feels like a bowler. Or
Okay, now feel the top.
Uh-huh.
nice.
My wife hates it. I love it.
Dude, that's got style.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, with my overalls. Hell yeah.
Did you tell him what it cost you?
Yeah. I bartered a few free commercials.
Works for me.
Here's your microphone. Let's give you this one right there.
Fine.
Good spray.
So are we on Facebook Live?
Yeah, we're on Facebook Live.
Oh, there. Yeah, we are.
And hold your hand out. Hold your hand out on this. Your left hand straight up. Down, 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 down. Straight down.
Yeah.
Grab
oh. What do you, moonshine? Smells good.
And I want you to tell me what proof you think that is. It's Friday night, folks. You know what that means. It's time for Johnson County Paranormal with the Professor Josh Turner. I'm Sasquatch. I am running the controls behind the screen, and we got a special guest with us tonight, Mr. Chad Duncan from
Where You Want to Eat.
Where You Want to Eat. So we got a good show for y'all tonight. We're going to be talking a little bit of sea monsters and the myths that go with it.
Oh, yeah.
And as we're partaking in a little bit of this apple pie moonshine.
I'm not. You guys go on.
Thank you, Mr. Pops. And Pops, you know who you are. Mr. Pops and his son will be in as participants. Later on, we got a couple audience members that are going to come up too. Kaylin, a good friend of mine, and his girlfriend. They're going to be eating down at Babe's. In fact, they should be eating right about now.
All right. Well, shout out to Babes. I know Johnson County Paranormal loves Babes, contrary to what certain members of our former staff have said. You know, best fried chicken and catfish in the world, as far as I'm concerned.
Not to mention corn and
their
potatoes.
Oh yeah, mashed potatoes. Yes, sir. Well, welcome to. Are we going to do the theme song tonight, or are we just going to jump right in?
I just did it.
You did? Okay.
That's when I was doing my little announcement.
All right. Well, I wasn't paying attention to it. Well, again, welcome to Johnson County Paranormal. I'm Professor Turner. I've got the Sasquatch working the boards tonight, and we are joined once more by our good friend Chad Duncan of What You Gonna Eat. Well, tonight we are going to talk about some aquatic sea creature, well, some sea monsters.
Sigmund?
Sort of. It's been a long Friday on my end, so we may be a little wonky tonight, but we're going to get into some aquatic cryptids. We're going to talk about ones from all over the world. We're going to get into a couple of really famous ones and a couple that are not so famous. But let's go ahead.
Before we get started, our Skype computer, I cannot get it loaded up right now, but you can type in any kind of questions you want to on our Facebook feed, and we will. Let me turn that volume off, and we will answer your questions and comments and just interact with us, folks.
And that phone number, if at any point in the show you'd like to call in,
we'll
save it. Why not?
I can't get the Skype computer.
Oh, crap, you're right.
I got an idea.
Okay,
I'm going to put into the feed, and we'll tell you right now. I'm going to be brave. I'm going to give y'all my private, personal cell phone number for Mr. Sasquatch.
Okay.
I don't even have that.
I don't know that I want that.
Well, it is 682-970-4756. I can put it on speakerphone, and we can get y'all up to a microphone, and we can get her going.
Well, all right. So tonight we're going to start it off with one of the most famous examples of cryptozoology. We're going to talk about the Loch Ness Monster. Then we're going to get into Champ. We're going to talk about Ogopogo. And then we're going to talk about one called a Cadborosaurus from Canada and Nova Scotia, that part of the world. But I think with a lot of the stuff that we've talked about and we're going to be talking about, the ocean is a great place for large unknown animals to hide. And the sad truth is that we know more about the surface of the moon than we do our own oceans.
Oh, yeah.
And, the ocean's a hell of a lot easier to get to than the moon is.
Well,
But
they're just now getting really the technology to get down miles deep under the ocean because, that crushes most submarine deals but in our humans' bodies can't take the pressure of right now. They're just now getting the technology where they can they're having to send robotic stuff down to where
Right.
like the Titanic and stuff is. It's kind of hard to get a person in that kind of stuff without their everything getting affected.
Well, water covers 71% of the Earth's surface. And the very real fact is that we do know more about the surface of the ocean than we do. I'm sorry, we know more about that's what happens when you read things out of a notebook. We know more about the moon than we do our own oceans. And in this part of our cryptozoology stuff, we're going to talk about some of the more famous examples of sea monsters. Now, since man has sailed across the seas, he's brought back stories of strange animals that he's encountered and seen. And a lot of them, things like whales and dolphins, the occasional ocean-going crocodile, even in the Orient and in Australia, that stuff, as time passes, it was more easily explained. There were readily available, plausible biological explanations. But there's still some enduring things. There's still stories of creatures and descriptions of animals that just don't quite match up with stuff that is officially recognized by science. So we're gonna get into a few of those tonight.
But I mean, so much of the stuff that I've read, it comes from storytelling.
Yeah.
And so, from one person trying to entertain 2 or 3 or 4 people, all of a sudden, one little flipper becomes arms or tentacles. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, there's usually an origination. There's something that happened.
Oh yeah, and that's why you have a boatload of sailors that have been out on the ocean for months at a time and haven't seen a woman, and they come up with stories of mermaids after some manatee or a sea cow swims too close to the boat. So yeah, it starts off with people telling stories, and that little ounce of truth that may have started it. Mm-hmm.
We have
it
a
snowballs.
caller from Baytown, Texas.
All right.
Let's see what we got going tonight. Caller, can you hear us?
Yes,
Who we got on the phone right now?
Crystal.
Crystal? Are you Crystal Renee Sanford on our Facebook feed?
Yes,
What, you are talking to Sasquatch. How are you doing tonight?
good. I'm actually going to be a guest on the show next month.
You're going to be a guest on the show next week?
No, I'm going to be a guest on the show next month, the 23rd.
You are? Well, what are you going to talk about, Crystal?
I'm going to talk about hydrocephalus. It's water on the brain.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that'll be a good show, I'm sure.
Yes, it will.
Definitely.
Are you going to be on the Texas Newsroom?
What did you say?
Will you be on the Texas Newsroom, or will you be on Empowered to Speak?
I think it's one of the it's Monday. It's
Joko Morning Live.
It's April the 23rd at it's April the 23rd.
Okay. Hey, Crystal, do you like sea monsters and things like that? Because that's what we're talking. That's what we're talking about tonight.
Are you down in Baytown?
I'm actually in Houston, Texas.
You're in Houston.
Well, great. Well, thank you for calling in, and thank you for listening and watching Johnson County Paranormal and being a fan of Joko.
Yeah, definitely.
Joko Community Radio.
Thank you. I'm actually happy to be on next month.
Well, good.
Well, good. I look forward to meeting you.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm actually since I can't come into the studio, they're doing it kind of differently.
Yeah.
For me, I'm going to be calling on the on my phone.
Sweet.
Okay.
So that's cool.
Right on. Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Well,
Have
you
a good
have a
night.
great weekend, hon.
Okay.
All right, we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.
Well, that was neat. That was a good first call.
Brave.
Yeah, very brave. She's how? She didn't sound like she was all that old, did she?
Let me pull her up right here.
Well, while you're pulling her up, let's go ahead and just do a segue into another young lady that we're going to talk about tonight. We're going to talk about the Loch Ness Monster. We're going to spend some time with Nessie.
I love me some Nessie.
Yes, sir. Well, Nessie is easily the most famous cryptid in the world. She's right up there, and she's bigger than Bigfoot and the Abominable Snowman.
Okay, I'm going to bug you.
What's that?
What's a cryptid?
Cryptid is an animal whose existence has not quite been proven by science. It's things like a Bigfoot, a Yeti, a Chupacabra. It's a collective term for a monster, if you will.
And this is your area of interest or your expertise? I know you're a paleontologist.
I am a paleontologist, and this is a hobby that I dabble with. I actually designed and taught a course on cryptozoology and paranormal, which is where our syllabus that we use comes
Gotcha.
from. So that's what we're doing.
Okay, a cryptid. Got it.
Cryptid.
So I'm there.
Yeah, all right. So
And actually today, which we'll probably touch on in the next couple of weeks, we are actually talking about taking an expedition down to South Texas in the next few months to search for what we call. There we go. Okay. We call it the cactus bird. My family does, and we're thinking it might be a pteranodon style birds that are down around Big Bend National Park.
So not necessarily a bird, but maybe a bird, maybe a bat, maybe, and this would be awesome, a pterosaur, a pterodactyl.
Yeah, we're talking 6 foot tall Jurassic Park looking things.
Yeah.
And I've seen them in the dark, but I've seen them, and we've seen so I'm looking forward to that. We got all kinds of things in the works.
Oh yeah, and we're going to have a good time. We're going to learn some stuff and maybe make a couple of discoveries along the way. All right, so to best understand the Loch Ness Monster, you have to learn about where she lives and places that she calls home. Well, Loch Ness is a large freshwater lake, or loch as the Scottish say, in the Scottish Highlands. It's 22.6 miles long, 1.7 miles wide, and between 433 feet and 744 feet deep. It's connected to the ocean by the River Ork at its southern end and to the Loch Dockfor via the River Ness on the northern end. The water is really cold and the visibility underwater is poor due to a high peat content. Do you guys know what peat is?
Yes.
Yeah.
And what's neat is over there they dry the peat and then they will.
It's fertilizer
I'm
and
hearing
it's all kinds of stuff.
Yeah,
that one of those
I'm hearing-
burn it.
Oh, it may be me
they
too.
go crazy with it. They love peat over there.
And we hear it now?
No, we're still getting it. Chad, is it your phone?
How about now?
Oh, I didn't even hear if phone's going.
I don't hear it anymore, do you?
I don't hear it anymore.
Okay.
No. Okay, we got her.
So yeah,
So wait, how deep is a lake in Texas?
nowhere near as deep as
No.
Loch Ness. I mean, Loch Ness was carved by the glaciers receding multiple thousand years ago. Texas only has one natural lake,
Caddo Lake.
and everything else is
Well,
man-made.
now
Everything else is
there's kind of one, but no, Lake Balmoral. No, it's man-made.
right.
I mean, if we think about how deep like a canyon might be in the Grand Canyon, I mean, 400 feet to 700 feet.
433 feet to 744 feet. That's pretty
an
deep.
incredible amount of distance.
Oh, yeah.
That something could be lurking there.
Yeah.
So
And-
Yeah.
I'm with you so far. I'm not dismissing it.
There's
well, you're
lots
being
of
much nicer than other people.
There's lots of shelves and lots of caves
Yeah.
under there too that they can't get anything down into to find.
And again, maybe she's not there. Or now, when we say the Loch Ness Monster, we're not just talking about one animal. this would have to be an entire population of animals, and we'll discuss why only one animal would be highly infeasible here in a little bit. But the water is super foggy or super peaty. There's lots of places to hide on the bottom, and like we mentioned before, Loch Ness opens into rivers and that lead into the ocean. So there's a very real possibility that whatever the Loch Ness monster is,
salmon.
Yeah, she's not there all the time. They're not there all the time. And it could be something that's passing in and out.
There are times when the opening coming from the ocean, it gets deeper in the spawning season for certain fish and everything. And a lot of times it goes down where a big creature wouldn't come in. But when the early spring, kind of, I guess you'd say floods, or the spring thaw, this river connecting to the ocean, it gets deep, and they have a lot of spawning from fish that can live in both saltwater and freshwater. Yeah. They spawn up this river into the Loch Ness, and
in fact, it's the spawning ground for the Atlantic salmon and several other types of moderately sized fish. So at any given point in the year, there's fish that are passing through to do their stuff, and these are fish that could be a decent meal for a moderately sized aquatic predator. I mean, not something that's just gigantic, but something anywhere in the ballpark of 10 to 30 feet, really, maybe.
Even if you think Loch Ness, most people would think these giant dinosaurs. Even if it was like a plesiosaur. I saw a skeleton of one. It's in downtown Fort Worth. They're maybe 20 foot long.
Some of them. Now, plesiosaur is the family, and there's lots and lots of variations in between, or in that grouping. I mean, there's little plesiosaurs that are the size of sea lions and walruses, and then there's great big ones under the elasmosaur classifications that can get...
Chad, this is his area of expertise.
I can tell. I'm mesmerized. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, and elasmosaurs are huge. Elasmosaurs can get almost 50 feet long, and the majority of that is neck. Now, I will say this for the folks at home. These animals are not dinosaurs. These are aquatic reptiles that lived in the same geologic period as the dinosaurs. These are guys that you found in the Jurassic and Cretaceous periods, which were the last two eras that we have traditional dinosaurs.
Is that the time period of where the Megalodon?
No, Megalodon is Ice Age. Megalodon is
really?
Oh yeah. Megalodon is not Mesozoic. Megalodon is anywhere from 2 million to 20,000 years ago, just depending on who you're talking to. Megalodon's
what a Megalodon is, Chad?
Recent.
No.
A Megalodon, from what they've seen, or what they found out, it's just the jaws, but basically it is probably one of the largest sharks ever in the world.
Oh, yes.
And it would have ate.
Yeah, this was a predator that specialized in feeding on whales. This was a whale hunter.
It would have eaten great white sharks like a bag of goldfish.
Yeah.
Okay, so how? Okay, I know in the past the other person's been the skeptic. How could this creature have? You're saying it's not a dinosaur.
It's not a dinosaur. It's an aquatic reptile. It's a cousin of the dinosaurs, if you will. If we want to go to that. All right. So what were you asking?
That's like, okay, because I'm thinking. What I have grown up with the legend is that this was a dinosaur-type creature.
That one's not mine. That must be yours.
That was my phone. My little brother just sent me something that I should not be playing on the air right now. Okay.
But no.
So it's not a dinosaur, so you're telling me it's...
something else. Now, the image that a lot of people are familiar with, and we'll get to that in just a little bit, is it's called the surgeon's photo. It's the black and white photo of the classic long plesiosaur neck and head coming up out of the water, and there's a little hump of the body.
Yeah, and that has been proven to be a hoax. That's why they call it the surgeon's photo. It was a little wind-up toy that this surgeon put a neck on there, and
yeah, he took a toy submarine and carved the neck and head out of a piece of wood, and taped it, or glued it, whatever, to the top of the sub, pushed it out in the water, snapped a few photos, and passed it off as the real thing.
Okay.
But and there's one of the problems with Nessie being what a lot of people want her to be, a plesiosaurus, and we'll get into that in a minute, is that Loch Ness is just way too cold for what we would presume to be a marine reptile, because reptiles are cold-blooded. Reptiles are dependent on the environment. They're only as warm as the water or the environment around them. So if you have cold water, you're going to have a very slow, very sluggish, potentially even dead marine reptile, because reptiles just don't do well in cold water.
But what if this burrowed into, you know how people will go cat fishing?
Uh-huh.
And there are fish that will hide in caves or do other things. Could it back into an area and stay warm when it's really cold? Could that be possible?
I guess anything's possible, but I think the problem with that, though, is that I don't know. It's
I like this, Chad. You're coming up with different
Yeah.
questions than I would, and
the problem again is is it always, maybe it's only more active when if we go with your theory,
Okay.
it's more active when the water is warmer.
Right.
But I don't know of a time in Loch Ness when the water is substantially warmer.
I'm going to Google that.
Okay.
What time of the year is
Okay,
active
so
sightings?
Yeah.
keep
Okay.
going.
All right, so we're going to keep going. We're going to get a little bit. All right, now, the neat thing about the Loch Ness Monster is considered enough of a likelihood, enough of a national treasure, if you will, that it's protected to a certain degree. It actually appears on it's on a variation of the endangered species list. It's against federal law to hurt one of these things.
So can I give a perspective from
Sure.
somebody who's been to Scotland?
Yeah.
Here's the thing. From Edinburgh, Scotland, if you're going to go to Loch Ness, you don't have your own car. You're going to have to take a bus or a train or something. It's a full day.
Yeah.
And so why... Now, I know why I would go to the Highlands, but why would I go to this particular lake?
Because of the legends and the pop culture that has become associated with it. It's a huge tourist attraction. It's like Roswell, New Mexico, or something of that nature. Its name precedes it.
Now, being truthful and being honest, when I was in Scotland, I was like, okay, I have two choices. Go with Jennifer to this lake and not see something, stay in Edinburgh, drink Guinness, and watch the locals.
Okay.
I went with option 2.
And
Well, I am of Scottish heritage. I'm a Highlander. My clan is Clan McInnes. We come from Loch Lilleen up in the city of Mordor, which is not a city. It's smaller than Godling.
you said Mordor?
Mordor.
Now, one cannot simply walk into Mordor, Sasquatch.
And my clan is the keeper of the kings.
Okay.
We have what's called the Kiel Church, Kiel, and we have every Scottish king buried in our cemetery up until Robert the Bruce,
Okay.
and that's why they call us the keeper of the kings, because we are my clan's the caretakers of all the old Scottish kings.
Well, I'm a Duncan, so we've got our own tartan, our own legends in Scotland.
Yep.
I'm a Turner. We're mutts. We're from everywhere. But okay, so
someone could. I mean, if you're going up to first of all, the Highlands are beautiful.
Yeah.
We just didn't want to take the time to dedicate to go to a lake that we were going to see nothing.
no, you guys would much rather drink yourselves into submission than go see an animal that's unparalleled anywhere else in the world.
2017
Totally
was a
screwing with you,
record
Jed.
year for sightings of the Loch Ness Monster. They had more official sightings than any other year of this century, which was 8.
And what's interesting is that for a long time, there were not any sightings at all, and they actually worried that whatever the Loch Ness monsters were, maybe they had either moved on or died off.
A woman on her honeymoon in October of 2017 spotted a creature moving in the water while a group of friends holidaying in August spotted something huge in the water which apparently arched out of the water. There were 3 sightings in June, 1 in May, and 1 in April, which were all deemed official sightings. So what's looking like this to me is the summer months into early fall, which would be the hotter times of the year, deeming more cold, warmer water settings.
If it's something that's staying there all the time, and maybe it's hibernating down in the cave or down in the goo on the bottom, or maybe it's something that's coming in from somewhere else, and it's following those salmon and those other fish that it's coming in as a food source. Now, what's interesting, though, is that over the years, there have been a lot of different shapes seen above the water that have been affiliated, that have been considered the Loch Ness Monster. Sasquatch, look at this. These are some of the more prominent
you got the hump,
Nessie shapes.
You got the multi-humps, the head and neck, head, neck, and back, and top half. I can see that. Now the head and neck, I have seen people try to, and I can see where they get this. There's been expeditions there. There's a lot of there's a lot of currents going all over the place, like riptides and stuff. And I have seen where there was a documentary where they thought they got a head and neck.
And I've got that picture. I'll
stick out, but it was a tree.
Maybe
a tree. But I'm going to show the folks this little sketch right here on Facebook.
So, thus far, in what you're seeing, is this plausible?
Yeah, absolutely it is, and we'll get into why in a minute. So, all right, the term monster was first applied to this creature on May 2nd, 1933, by a law enforcement officer and part-time journalist named Alex Campbell when he was writing a story for the local paper in which a man named George Spicer and his wife reported seeing, and I quote, "the nearest approach to a dragon or prehistoric animal that I have ever seen, shuffle across the road towards the loch, carrying a sheep in its mouth." So, according to his story, this thing is not entirely aquatic; it's amphibious. It could crawl up on land, grab a sheep, and go back into the water, almost like maybe a sea turtle, or if you want to be a little bit more aggressive, a crocodile.
Well, my validity, my belief for the Loch Ness Monster is that famous old Scottish picture, that painting, painted in the 12th to 13th century. And why I've always thought it was a plesiosaur is there's a painting of a knight fighting a small plesiosaur, which is probably looked to be about 16 to 20 foot long, slaying a plesiosaur. And I'm sorry. You don't pull those kind of images out of your ass in the 12th, 13th century with
right.
If you haven't seen something like that, because up until then, people didn't know what dinosaurs looked like back then. People didn't know what these aquatic sea creatures look like unless they're alive.
Yeah.
And they're not going to find a few bones and put together that. What's the word I'm looking for? That accurate of a trail.
Sure. And let's talk about a history of sightings, because these sightings go back thousands of years. I've got a story here of one that happened in the 6th century. Saint Columba and his companions encountered a group of people burying their friend by the River Ness. They told the saint that the man had been swimming in the water when he was attacked by a water beast that had mauled him and dragged him underwater. They tried to rescue him, but by then it was way too late. Saint Columba then stuns the group by telling one of his followers to swim across the river. The man does this, and the monster immediately goes after him. St. Columbia makes the sign of the cross and commands the creature, "Go no further. Do not touch the man. Go back at once." The beast immediately stops as if pulled back by ropes and flees in terror. The locals convert pretty much on the spot and all praise God for the miracle. And that story is very well documented, and that comes from the 6th century. And that's the earliest.
So 6th century, that's the 500s, right?
Yeah,
Or,
just about,
Yes,
yeah.
500s. So, this stuff goes back.
Yeah, and that are on runes, that are on some of the archaeological evidence that we have. And everything that they found in oral tradition, cultural traditions, all of that, suggests that there's something really unusual happening in this lake.
I would be curious to know if there's any Roman mention, because the Roman army, they built Hadrian's Wall. They come all the way up there, and they went up into Scotland and built that. After Hadrian's Wall, they built another wall, another 100 miles up.
I've seen that.
And it's I'm just wondering if there's any historical mention.
I'm sure there are.
Another Google. Another
All right,
Google.
so in 1933, George Spicer and his wife report their encounter. They further describe the creature as having a large body, 4 feet high, 25 feet long, with a long neck. They were unable to see the creature's legs or flippers because of a dip in the road that obscured their vision. Now, this is the couple that saw the Loch Ness monster scooting across the road with a sheep in its mouth. For those of you guys who are listening on Facebook, if you'll look at some of the pictures that I posted advertising for tonight's episode, there is an artist representation of that encounter and it shows a plesiosaurus with a sheep in its mouth, and it's scooting off in the water, and you can see a car coming across the road. They say that this animal left a trail of broken undergrowth in its wake. A motorcyclist named Arthur Grant would later claim to nearly hit the creature, which he described as looking like a cross between a seal and a plesiosaur. He was a veterinary student at the time, so he knew his animals. Sporadic land sightings would continue until 1963. So there was a handful of people who saw an amphibious Loch Ness monster. They saw it both in the water or on land. It was, kind of the best of both worlds for it.
Now, I'm
what's that?
I'm gonna lend some credibility to what you're saying as far as the picture and where they came up and created with stuff. Think about what the Egyptians created. I mean, think about the Sphinx. They weren't very inventive. I mean, they were inventive. Okay, there's the avenue of the Sphinx, where there's 700 different Sphinx, but they all had a lion body.
Yeah.
But they just crammed on other animals' heads.
Right.
This is a completely different creature. Why could this person have painted that picture unless
it was something that he actually saw?
That's
a good question.
Okay, before the 6th century story, when the Romans first came to northern Scotland in the 1st century AD, they found the highlands occupied by fierce, tattooed, covered tribes they called the Picts, or painted people. From the carved standing stones still found in the region around Loch Ness, it is clear the Picts were fascinated by animals and careful to render them with great fidelity. All the animals depicted on the Pictish stones were lifelike and easily recognizable, all but one. The exception is a strange beast with an elongated beak or muzzle, a head locket or spout, and flippers instead of feet. Described by some scholars as a swimming elephant, the Pictish beast is the earliest known evidence for an idea that has held sway in the Scottish Highlands for at least 1,500 years, that Loch Ness is home to a mysterious aquatic animal.
Yeah. And, that right there, it's not the smoking gun, necessarily, but boy, that's good evidence. That suggests that there's something weird, something unusual that's been going on around there for a long, long time.
And just the entire depth of what that lake would hold.
Oh, yeah, there's no telling.
And just like you're saying on the ocean, I'm buying your theory. Okay, I'm there so far. So, because if we don't know what's at the bottom of the ocean and what's lurking down there, because we can't physically get there, there could be.
Tell them about the coelacanth.
Yeah. Okay. So, in where you're going is great. what Sasquatch made reference to in the 1930s off the coast of South Africa, there was an ichthyologist working from, I want to say she was with one of the London museums, and she told the fisherman, she said, if you ever find anything weird or unusual, give me a call. I'm a fish scientist. I'd love to see whatever you find. And they would bring her, the stuff that was kind of exotic to them, but she was used to seeing. Until one morning, they brought up something that was really, really different. They brought up an animal that was between 4.5 to almost 6 feet long, a really weird lobe-finned, bluish-gray fish with white spots. And as an educated person, the scientists looked at it, and she knew instantly what it was. It was a type of fish that she recognized as a coelacanth. Now, coelacanth were really common during the age of dinosaurs, but we lose track of them in the fossil record. They die off, they become extinct shortly before the dinosaurs go out of the picture, and we just assume.
Yeah, we're talking like 6 million years ago.
No, it's further than 6 million years ago.
Oh, yeah?
You're talking probably more like 60 million years ago, and we just thought that they were one of those species that was lost through time, and we just. But here she was in 1930s South Africa, and she is looking at one that is somewhat flopping around on the deck of this boat. And it was the zoological find of the century, because here was this animal that nobody had ever seen before, that the fossil record loses track of about the same time as the dinosaurs, and then all of a sudden somebody pulls one up in South Africa.
Yeah, this tribe's been eating them for
What?
Yeah, and the tribe knew about them. The tribe said, we catch these from time to time. It's a very deep water fish, but when storms blow through or when currents bring them up into the more shallow waters, we catch them. We just thought everybody else knew about them. And it's funny, we'll get into it with some of the... Okay, we're going to take a commercial break, but we'll be right back and we'll finish talking about coelacanth.
I know, right? I'm right into it. I'm like, now we got to go to a commercial. You do this.
That's good radio right there.
Even next spring. Keep those pesky weeds in check and promote thick, lush, healthy
I don't have
grass with
a
our
clue
program.
what proof
The
that
Lawn
is.
Tech program
That had
consists
me
of 5
warm
applications.
all over
Each
just from a
application is
sip.
6 to 8
It's 90
weeks
proof.
apart. Lawn Tech is also
good, though,
a
isn't it?
full-service
It was.
lawn and
Hey,
landscape
20
maintenance and
25
installation
a
company.
jar.
Give Lawn
If you
Tech
ever
a
want
call
some,
today.
I got the hookup.
817-824-3906.
Courtney Davis says, "Hi, Pat."
Whenever we are faced with difficulties, we can find comfort in someone we know and
She
trust.
says, hi, Pat.
Someone you can trust when it comes to final arrangements.
Not sure who
with
Pat
your
is, but...
loved ones.
Hi, Courtney.
His
Oh,
close
Tina had a good
person
question we need to talk
Give them
about.
a
Wouldn't
call
a
if you
submarine
need
with a
it. They're
sonar
always
detect it?
there. Their
Yeah, but
phone
the Scottish aren't going to let one of those in there.
648.
Now, they have done side-to-side sonar with ships, with boats.
The Japanese did that. They ran them up and down the length of the lock a couple
And then
times.
they did that one a few years ago where they had like 150 boats side to side. And they went from one end of the lock to the other with side sonar. And couldn't find anything, but they were getting a lot of crossover with the sonar.
Okay. This isn't.
Hey, Courtney. Courtney says, hi, Josh.
Things are crazy because think about, just as far as how vast the ocean is, we still can't find the Malaysian airplane. And we can find little pieces of it, but we still don't have a clue.
Well, you know,
Oh, yeah, because that went through the Bermuda Triangle and is in the third dimension now. We're never going to see that again. The aliens got that one.
well, you know, look at it this way too. We knew for decades about where the Titanic was, and how long ago was it that we just originally really found it?
I mean, near, far, wherever you are. I know that my heart will go on.
Oh.
Because I'm king of the world.
So this is what me and him do.
We try to save it for the commercial breaks.
How did the two of you meet?
His mom was my first grade teacher.
He walked into my mom's class and said, "My daddy's a Texas Ranger, but he don't play ball." His dad was a Texas Ranger.
Wow.
He was Johnson County's Texas Ranger
Yeah.
for
26 years almost.
Ranger Turner?
Yes, sir. George Turner. He was a sergeant when he was here, but he retired as a lieutenant.
big man.
You're listening to Joco Community Radio, where we share the stories, play the music, and sing the songs of Johnson County. We're glad you're here.
Hang on, one more thing.
I wanted to buy a hat.
What kind of hat do you want?
I wanted something kind of like Sasquatch's.
Hey, guess what? We're back on the air.
All right.
Oh, is that your leading music?
Yeah, it's
Very
called
nice.
Attack of the Mole Men.
Just as long as it doesn't get us in trouble like last week.
No, this is copyright free
Okay.
stuff. And plus, I don't know why last week got in trouble for us playing a couple of like the Scooby-Doo and stuff like that. We have a BMI license with the radio station and me personally. So I have no freaking idea why. I love you, Facebook. I love you, Facebook.
And I, for one, welcome our benevolent Facebook overlords.
Well, we're back with Johnson County Paranormal,
All right.
and we got special guest in here, Mr. Chad Duncan from,
Where you want to eat?
I don't know, where you want to eat. Hey, did you hear your little deal with, I did pretty good with y'all.
Yes.
I put a little winger behind it. Not many people can do a winger reference in a talk show deal. It ends with, hungry.
You lost me.
Well, you're too young.
Okay.
I think we're a year apart.
Were you hungry like the wolf? I would have caught that.
What year were you born?
72.
I'm 69.
Okay.
I'm 10 years after you. 82. All right, so let's go back to Nessie. All right, May of 1943. C.B. Farrell of the Royal Observer Corps is distracted from his duties by the Loch Ness Monster, claiming to see a large-eyed, thin creature with a 20 to 30-foot body and a neck that stood 4 to 5 feet out of the water. In December of 1954, the first reliable sonar contact is made by the fishing boat Rival 3, when an unknown underwater object kept pace with the boat for a half a mile at a depth of 480 feet.
Okay, back up.
Go ahead.
Read the description of this creature again, just real quick. Just
Okay.
The body and the neck.
All right, the body and the neck. This was what they saw in May of 1943. A 20 to 30 foot body and a neck that stuck 4 to 5 feet out of the water.
Think Darwin. Why would that adaptation be necessary?
Oh, I can absolutely tell you why that adaptation would be necessary. That adaptation is ideal for the underwater environment, where if you're a big animal, you've got a long neck and a little head. A school of fish is going to see you coming from a mile away. But if you kind of swim in slowly and nonchalantly, and you stick that little head that's about the size of some of the fish in there, and you kind of float with that school of fish for a little while. You let the fish forget you're there. You let the fish kind of get acclimated towards you, and then all of a sudden you twist and turn your neck about really fast. You're going to get a belly full of fish real quick, and then you can swim away. Now, on the same page is if you're a smaller type of plesiosaur.
And they would have movements like seals, and you know how good seals are with chasing under.
Yeah.
Now add a long serpentine neck that can whip in different directions at the same time with the movements of a seal. Like, man, they're going to be a very
And bear in
highly
mind,
successful predator.
yes, and bear in mind too that these are air breathers. They can use that long neck to get to the surface even quicker, get them a gulp of fresh air, and then go back underwater for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, however long.
Okay.
But a long neck and a small head is really advantageous, and it makes a lot of sense in terms of natural selection, evolution, all of that. That's a great question. I like that. So let's see.
Man, you're having awesome questions.
Okay, what do we got?
Oh, Tina had a good question. My lovely wife. She said, wouldn't a submarine with a sonar detect it? That's a very good question, Tina. That sonar is
It
really
might.
good for large bodies or like schools of fish. You know how the fish finders can catch some of that stuff. There has been many documented accounts of large figures under the water. But again, with sonar, it's like finding a school of fish. You're not going to know what kind of fish they are. You're not going to know how many of them are there. It's just going to be a blip on the deal. And that's where the sonar is. Now, if they could get it, Daniel Rainville had a good question too. Would it have to be a carnivore?
I would think that it would.
I would.
I would
say
too.
so. Well, just
because there's not enough. I mean, this Loch Ness. The water is so full of peat. It's so dark. It's so cold. That's not a good place for aquatic vegetation, because aquatic vegetation needs sunlight, just like terrestrial vegetation
Yes.
does. And there's going to be a lot more fish. There's going to be a lot more aquatic life to eat, as opposed to having scavenge around.
They have sent stuff to the
plants.
bottom of Loch Ness a lot of times. Now, like you said, it's heavy peat water. You can't see but a few feet with a camera,
Mm-hmm.
or scuba guys can't see but a few feet in front of them, only because it's so murky water. But then when they get to the bottom, instead of large vegetation, it's a dirt bottom.
Yeah.
Because there's no light filtering down to the bottom. You get 10 to 15 feet underwater in Loch Ness, and it's pitch black. It's like being in a really deep ravine in the ocean.
Well, and you basically are in a really deep ravine. It's because that's how the lake was formed. It was a big deep hole that got carved out and filled with water. But I don't know. There's a lot of really interesting things at play here. But let's address the monkey in the room, if we will. Let's talk. Go ahead.
I thought you were calling me a monkey.
No. I could if you wanted me to.
Well, I know we could go back to the Sasquatch, early man.
I can talk Bigfoot till the cows come.
But it's sea monster.
This is sea monster. All right. So here, guys, that's the world. That's the
surgeon's photo.
The surgeon's photo. That is the picture that everybody thinks of when they think of the Loch Ness Monster. And that's the one that, according to multiple sources, is a fake. It's a hoax. Now, let me read you the story of the surgeon's photo.
I was fixing to pull that one. I just saw that one.
And I picked that one because that represents a lot of problems with aquatic sea monsters.
No, wait a minute. That's not the one there's a new one from October of this last year.
Yeah.
That they're saying is a credible.
Look at those and say
credible photo.
All right. So 1934. The surgeon's photo is purported to be the first photo of a head and neck of the Loch Ness Monster. It was taken by a London doctor, Robert Kenneth Wilson, who refused to have his name associated with the photo. All right, so let me ask you boys a question. If you're a doctor, if you're a respected pillar of the community, why would you not want your name associated with with a picture of a monster? With something, fantastic like this?
Didn't he...
Is that going to be good for your career?
No.
No. And that's the why. He wanted to stay as far away from that as he could, because he didn't want to shoot himself in the foot, literally. So...
no. Well,
okay, well, no, feel free. Feel free.
No.
Feel free.
I'm calling BS because, wait a second. We're talking about a remote control.
No,
submarine?
this is the days. This is 1934. There were no remote controls.
Aston Magnuson said Jennifer, Kathy, Haston, and Kelly are all watching.
Cool.
And we've got Daniel Rainville, Courtney Davis. We got a lot of people.
Well, good.
Watching.
All right. So this surgeon saw this sighting.
Yeah. All right. So, okay, and that's where the name comes from, because he didn't want his name associated with it, but somebody said, okay, the photo came from a surgeon, let's just call it the surgeon's photo, and there's a certain amount of anonymity there. All right, it was revealed to be a hoax. In 1975, Wilson said that he and a friend had placed a wooden cutout of a long neck and head atop a plastic toy submarine before taking 2 black and white photos. They believed the creatures to be real, but they just wanted to have a little bit of fun. There are rumors, however, and this is what I love, because there's always the true believers that don't want their story to be the truth. There are rumors that the fact that the picture is believed to be a described hoax is actually a hoax in and of itself. So it's kind of an inception delusion within a delusion. It's a conspiracy, if you will. man, I would love for there to be, for that to be a picture of a plesiosaurus. But let's get into why it couldn't be, why it necessarily would be. We've talked about if plesiosaurs are the way that we understand them to be, and we believe them to be reptiles, and ancient marine reptiles operate the way that modern reptiles do. Again, Loch Ness is a really bad place for an aquatic reptile to be because it's too damn cold, and it's not a healthy environment. Even for something that's passing through that might be coming in and out of the ocean, it's just not warm. It's not the place that you'd want to go and have little baby Loch Ness monsters and spend the summer.
Well,
But
okay, here's my question. So plesiosaurs are y'all know for sure they were reptiles instead of...
Yes, the plesiosaurs laid eggs. We have fossil evidence that suggests that.
But does that mean that the dinosaurs that laid eggs are considered reptiles?
Dinosaurs are
Chicken.
birds and dinosaurs. Well, actually, not even all dinosaurs. But, well, okay. Let me back up. Modern birds, are the direct evolutionary descendant of the carnivorous dinosaurs.
Yeah, was it turkey buzzards or T-Rex?
Yeah, more or less. Now, they're not closely related to things like Brontosaurus, Triceratops, Stegosaurus, these guys. Mm-hmm. When I say birds or dinosaurs, I'm linking them to the predators: Tyrannosaurus rex, Velociraptor, Allosaurus, the meat eaters. Because if you look at the skeleton of any carnivorous dinosaur, anything from a raptor on up to a T-Rex, and you compare it with any kind of bird skeleton, hummingbird, penguin, mockingbird, grackle, ostrich, you name it, there are 75, more so, there are at least 75 skeletal and anatomical similarities that you find between those two.
Which kind of is in the same category of humans being related to great apes
yes.
and stuff like that.
Kind of, yeah, in a roundabout sort of way. But,
So I'm following your line of thought for a moment. Okay, if we're talking about aquatic reptile, are crocodiles or alligators, they're all in warm temperatures.
They are, because they're reptiles and because cold temperatures would not be the ideal environment for them. Yeah, they might adapt over millions and millions of years. Maybe that's what happened here. But historically, you do not find crocodiles and alligators in places that are cold now. Mm-hmm. Because you don't have them, you don't have crocs and alligators in Canada. You used to, but you don't have them anymore.
Well, there's
some big amphibians in...
There's an alligator farm in Singleville. Huge.
It's probably artificially heated, I'm sure.
No, it's just like, it's like going to a swampy side of any lake. It's partitioned off and everything, but it's acres and acres of alligators. And the only reason I know this is because we were doing a late night when me and my father's company were working for Encore. Mm-hmm. We had a power outage out there, and I dropped a tool off the pole in the dark on the other side of the fence, and I made my grunt go across the fence to
right.
get it. And he stepped on about a 3-foot-long alligator over there.
And alligators are fast when they need to be.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, I wouldn't want to do that.
Courtney had a good day. So you're thinking it's a mammal?
It could be. It could very well be, because a mammal would make a lot more sense than a reptile. And one of the more popular, one of the more plausible schools of thought as to what this thing could be is that it is a surviving form of really primitive whale. Now, the early whales were very serpentine. They were very snake-like looking. Mm-hmm. And that would account for some of the humps and the lumps that we see above the water.
Is that like the last pictures you see?
That's like the last picture that's in there. And whales are mammals.
The baby
Cadborosaurus?
Yeah.
Yeah. And we'll actually get to him at the
end. We
end.
hold pictures up to the camera.
Yeah.
All right.
We're just high tech like that.
So, taking the cryptid as you're kind of describing, where does the platypus
Well, the platypus, and we've actually got a unit later with the platypus. But no, in an ideal world, the Loch Ness Monster could have a similar story to the duck-billed platypus. The duck-billed platypus was brought to European attention when the colonizing settlers of Australia started penetrating down deep into the mainland, and they were running into animals that nobody had ever seen before. And chief amongst them was the duck-billed platypus. So they kill a few of these things. They send it back to the scientists in England and in Germany and in Sweden, back to home base, if you will. And at first, the scientists thought they were kidding. They thought they were just making this stuff up. Because one of the English scientists looked at it and says, yeah, there's no way this is a real animal. Because you've got the body of a beaver, you've got the beaver's flat tail, you've got webbed feet like a duck, you've got a bill like a duck, and then on top of that, male platypus have spurs on their heel, which give them enough venom to knock out a dog. So, all right, you have
a human really sick.
Oh yeah. So so you've got a venomous, duck-billed, flipper-footed, flat-tailed mammal.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it wasn't until some of these guys got down to Australia and they saw some of these things in the wild.
Well, doesn't it have a pouch too?
It's a marsupial.
Yeah.
And marsupials were, the only marsupials that the Europeans knew about were the possums in the Americas. Possums are the only marsupials that managed to make it out of Australia and do so well. The reason that the island continent of Australia has the wildlife that it does is because it separated from mainland Asia and Africa right before or maybe right after the end of the Age of Dinosaurs. And all of the animals that were there evolved and adapted completely different than the animals that were elsewhere. So that's why in Australia is dominated by the successful marsupial forms as opposed to the placental mammals, which managed to take hold everywhere else. That's why you don't have monkeys and stuff in Australia.
So you're talking about Pangea.
Yeah, Pangea plays into this, absolutely. It boggles your mind, doesn't it?
And at this point, that's where I get frustrated where people say the Earth is 6,000 years old.
I wish Matt was here because Matt
would
he'd debate with you. Yeah, and I'm the same way. Hell, there's trees that are older than 6,000 years. Some of those sequoias and the other stuff that we have, those things go back.
The largest growing organism in the world it's several million years old, and it's up in Colorado, and it's a grove of aspens.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's one organism. It's off the same root system, and it's I want to say 15,000 acres.
No kidding, that's a big tree.
It's one tree, but it looks like a grove of aspens, but it goes for 15,000 acres. It's all one organism.
Okay. And just because I feel like we've boggled your mind enough, let's leave the sensational explanations behind. Let's leave the plesiosaurus. Let's leave the prehistoric serpentine whales. And let's say, okay, maybe this is something exciting, but not quite as exciting as some of those other explanations. It could very well be boat wakes. It could be waves accounting for some of these sightings.
But the sighting, didn't I see a video? That's a hoax?
The one where
it's the rolling humps going across the water?
Yeah.
See, that's the thing. It's kind of like Bigfoot videos and photos. They're so far away, so fuzzy and grained. It's hard to tell you. It could have been a rolling wave. There's logs that have been that are maybe humped and they're caught in a current and they're rotating and they might be curved just enough where it looks like the hump is coming in and out.
And we'll get to that one next. The champ is the one that I think that we're talking about there. Hell, it could be an otter. It could be misidentified wildlife. Normal, common stuff that people aren't used to seeing there, aren't expecting to see there. And they see it, and they're like, whoa, what was that? And then it's like we talked about before with Occam's razor. The simplest answer is the best answer. So that's ominous. I like that music. But, what we would want within our heart of hearts to be a plesiosaurus or that prehistoric whale might just be a family of otters. Maybe they're dipping and diving all in unison.
And that is our commercial break.
All right.
Music.
Perfect.
So, if we got about 10 seconds left, I don't think we're going to keep this one in our wheelhouse. And I'm digging this song.
Is that more of the Mo-Men?
We're going to be back in about 2-3 minutes.
Now, what's that crazy creature that I've seen at Caddo Lake that's like a rat, but it's like it lives in the water. It's not
Nutria? Yeah, that's a swamp rat that was brought up from the Amazon in the 20s.
Yeah, they get about
It's an invasive
2 to
species.
3 foot tall.
You're over there.
Yeah, I am.
Have you been sitting over there all this time? I've been looking over here.
I know. We
It
didn't.
sounded like you were.
That's okay.
So that's from the Amazon?
That's from the Amazon, yeah.
They're called nutrients.
Nutria.
Nutria.
Yeah. They're swamp rats.
See, I don't call stuff the right thing.
That's all right.
Dude, Loafing Dog.
You like this Loafing Dog commercial?
I do. I know you did it, and I love Loafing Dog. Man, it was good food.
Did you go to
Tore up that Nokia. I'm talking them into doing a Sasquatch dog. It'll be a foot long wiener with 2 meatballs at the end.
Wow.
When you are getting ready to take your first steps into your happily ever after, you need a venue that will not only be a beautiful place to start.
They'll even give you a sack to carry it. They'll even give you a sack to carry the balls.
Venue actually believe each couple they serve becomes
Oh,
part of their extended
Loafing
family,
Dog just
and
did
they
a
take
deal
care
with
of their
Patrick's
couples as
Florals,
if they are.
and they made her wiener bouquet. I was about to ask on Facebook. My wife was like, "Oh my God, this is great."
Now, I know John Patrick. We'll have to.
They did a wiener bouquet this week with Loafing Dog.
Visit their website,
Wow.
the venue on
I loved it.
LakeWhitney.com. Whenever we are faced with
Johnson County really. I mean, this has been the fun part of being a part of this team. Is going out there and eating something, that we like to stay comfortable and I'm really comfortable with the porch, or I'm really comfortable just in here. So now that I've done the porch, it's like, okay, now I have to really go out there and discover more. So it's like, okay, yeah, I'm going all the way to Godly, and I'm like, this is the area of Sasquatch. I'm liking the music. Nice
And
job.
we're back with Johnson County Paranormal.
We
on
are
Friday
back
night.
with Professor Turner, the Sasquatch, and I feel like you need a cool nickname.
I was always,
Blind Dog Melon.
I was known
Blind Dog Eaton.
as the Tasmanator.
The Tasmanator. All right.
Tasmanator.
The Tasmanator, excuse me.
Tasmanator.
All right, so let's keep with the tradition that we developed last week, with the show that didn't air. All right.
It didn't air?
It didn't air because we had copyright problems probably. All right, so I'm going to have to say that in terms of believability, likelihood, plausibility for the Loch Ness Monster, aye, Nessie, I'm giving you 2 flippers all the way up. You're real, Nessie, you really are. Boys, how about y'all?
I say, yay for Lucky, for Nessie.
I think taking away what we think as the dinosaur, you've helped me believe it to be as possible.
All right. Very cool. I wish Matt was here to say that because we've
Now-
never convinced Matt.
Now we need to do our south of the border party. Ay,
Is that gunshots?
Machine guns.
Oh, okay. I was like, why are we doubling back to Chupacabra? But all right. Okay, so let's go to Canada for the next one.
Okay.
All right.
And for all my Canadian friends up there, y'all, I know about y'all's, what is it, that fish?
And sturgeons?
No, they're fake fish.
Oh, the furred trout. Yes. The
Furry trout.
The furry trout. Yeah, that was, Lord, we apologize for the jokes that were made that night. All right.
Jerry Duncan has joined. Do you know him, Chad?
Chuck, yes,
No,
yes.
Jerry Duncan?
Yes, I know Jerry.
Okay.
You called me Chuck.
Hey, and
Oh, sorry, John.
well, and Abby Normal's husband was watching a minute ago.
Right on.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about Champ.
Canada.
Also known as Champy, Big Rim, or Champtanistropheus americansis. I like that name. That's a dinosaur paleontological legit sounding name. Is a lake monster believed to reside in Lake Champlain, a natural freshwater lake partially situated across the Vermont, New York. Did I say Canada? Why did I say Canada? We're saying the United States.
Yeah.
All right, partially.
I thought you knew what you were talking about.
I do, but that's why I wrote it down in a book, so I wouldn't have to remember all of it. Partially situated across the Vermont-New York state border, as well as, I just redeemed myself, as well as the United States-Canadian border in the Canadian province of Quebec. There have been over 300 recorded sightings. The history of the legend. And this kind of gets back to what we talked about with Bigfoot. The Iroquois and the Anunnaki tribes of the region knew of the creature, and they called them Totoskak. So they had a name for it. It was real to them. It was a part of their culture and their traditions. In 1883, the first reported sighting came when Sheriff Nathan H. Mooney claims to see a gigantic water serpent about 50 yards away from shore. It was 25 to 30 feet long and was so close that the sheriff could see round white spots in its mouth, which I would presume to be teeth, I guess. Mooney's story caused many others to come forward with their own encounters.
Round white spots.
Round white spots in its mouth.
It probably could have been a diseased mouth.
Turtle, where you kind of sit there when you wiggle your
Or like
tongue
the
back and forth.
anglerfish or something like that.
Okay.
All right, so these stories predate. This is cool because these stories predate the Loch Ness Monster controversy by 50 years. So people were talking about Champ before they were talking about Nessie, and aside from the Celtic Highland stuff. All right, P.T. Barnum. Remember P.T. Barnum from
The greatest showman on
Yes, sir, from the Cardiff Giant. P.T. Barnum offers a reward of $50,000 for a Champ carcass that he could include in his epic World's Fair show. So P.T. Barnum put a bounty on Champ.
Well, the descriptions of Champ have always bothered me from the fact that it has a horse's head.
Well, you could kind of equate a horse-like head to a lot of these water animals. Just because, it's like the scenario that we talked about with the plesiosaur that was underwater fishing. It's slender, it's elongated.
Kind of like a seahorse.
That's where I was going. That's what I was thinking.
But I don't see... That's what I've always envisioned in my head when they say Champ has a horse head. I immediately go to the seahorse, which I don't see as an advantage.
There's Champ.
But why would it need to stick its head outside of the water?
Because it's an air breather, and maybe it wants to see what's going on around it. Maybe it's looking for prey items on the surface. Maybe it's looking to snag a turtle or a low-flying bird, or maybe, it needs to look around and see if there's any boats or something like that. There's a lot of reasons why an aquatic animal would want to look out over the surface of the water, I think. Wouldn't you guys agree with that?
Yeah, I can see that. And especially more and more so as technology goes along, you got all these... It's like, what the hell's making that sound?
Yeah.
You know, it's got jet skis and boats and, and all these fish finders. Mm-mm. Man, you can't get on a bass boat now without... you can go Walmart and buy these fish finders that for $30 that were...
And hold on to that thought, because fish finders operate through echolocation. Uh-huh. And we're gonna get to that in just a second. All right, so the photo that I just showed you was called the Manzi photograph. It was taken in 1977 by an amateur photographer, Sandra Manzi. She released what appeared to be a photo showing a plesiosaur-like body and neck sticking out of the water. The area where the picture was taken is relatively shallow and only about 14 feet deep. Skeptics argue that a big animal wouldn't come into water that shallow, and the object is likely to be a floating log or a tree trunk. Well, okay, here's the problem that we've addressed with some of the other cryptids and with Nessie. And they do it so much on those damn Bigfoot shows. Yeah. don't equate and assign behaviors to these animals when you've never seen one, you've never studied them in the zoo, nobody ever has. Don't say that you know what they're doing all the time. Maybe it was coming into shallow water to rub barnacles and parasites off of its belly by rolling in the sand. Mm-hmm. Maybe it just got tired of floating out there and it wanted to come and be able to rest in the mud, but with its head out over the water so it could look and see what's going around. There's all kinds of reasons that a shallow animal would come in water. And this thing was obviously not beaching itself. It wasn't like it was trying to strand itself. It was just, kind of looking to hang out. Come on in, guys. How are y'all?
Good, how are you doing?
We're good.
Oh, we got Mr. Kalen and his lovely girlfriend.
Josh Turner. Good to meet you, Kayla.
Nice to meet you.
Ma'am, how are you?
This is Chad Duncan. He's a host of a show. What is it called? You Want to Eat?
Where you want to
Where
What do you want to
eat?
eat? All right.
I like my new hat.
I like it.
Dig it?
So,
have a seat.
yeah, please.
We are talking sea monsters and the possibility of like Loch Ness Monster, and now we're on to...
Now we're on to Champ, and Champ is kind of the North American / Canadian version of the Loch Ness Monster. It actually predates the Loch Ness Monster in terms of exclusive sightings by 50 years. All right, so this is where I said hold on to the thought of echolocation. Because in 2003, the Fauna Communication Research Institute was working with another group from the Discovery Channel, and they were trying to see what kinds of noises were being made under the water. They were trying to listen to what the environment might be like down there. Well, they recorded the sound of echolocation being generated from some kind of animal within the lake.
Which would have to be mammalian in a way, like
the way that we understand it, yeah.
A porpoise, dolphin, killer whale,
Something like that.
Regular whale.
The call is similar to that of a beluga whale or an orca. Now, belugas and orcas are members of the whale and dolphin classification, and they're big, but they're not super big. Now, for those of you guys that are playing along at home and you're wondering, all right, well, what is echolocation? Echolocation is basically a screech or a high-pitched noise that these animals spit out, and then they don't spit it out, but they kind of shriek it out. The sound waves go out, and then they bounce back.
It's
of the
when you hear
things
them whale
around them.
songs like the...
Well, sort of. Sort of. Echolocation is also what bats use.
It's what I use.
It's what you use.
Yes.
Oh, and humans can actually use echolocation to a pretty fair degree.
Yeah. Chad's blind. And
Bet you guys didn't see that coming. I'm sorry, Chad.
he was looking the other way earlier.
I was looking
in the
over
first
this
half of the
way.
show.
Took the headphones off. I'm like, you're right there. How'd you do that?
I was trying to be polite, so I just let him go.
Yeah, poor
I
blind
definitely
guy.
didn't see that one coming.
Like watching Stevie Wonder at the award show. He's looking the opposite way of everybody.
Hey, did you ever see Stevie Wonder's house?
He hasn't either.
Okay. I'm sorry, Chad.
Speaking
All right.
of Blindell, I got a Ronnie Millsap story to tell you later.
All right, so let's get to the explanations of what Champ is. Let's just go down the route of we'll call this the plesiosaurus route, because that's what we went with Nessie. That's where people wanted it to be. There's a similar animal that matches a lot of the descriptions to Champ. It's not a plesiosaur, but it's actually a creature from much earlier in time called a Tanystropheus.
A what?
A Tanystropheus.
Okay.
And imagine something with the body of a snake, but with 4 really slender little legs that come out. I mean, the thing is, it's a reptile, and it probably spent a decent amount of time.
Kind of like a real skinny salamander with a long neck.
Google a picture of this thing
Okay.
and tell me what you think.
You're going to have to spell
I will
this
spell
one
it for you.
me.
All right. TANYSTROPHEUS.
While he's looking this up, one of my friends she's a therapist. Her name's Ashley. Shout out. So she was just talking about how fish and fish are swimming and don't
Just keep swimming. Just keep swimming.
right. And she goes, don't try to climb a tree. Leave that to the monkeys. Let them do this.
I can think of like 6 species of fish that can climb trees just fine.
Exactly. That's what I sent her. I said, hey.
Yeah, but suddenly I'm an asshole when I point that out. You know?
Okay, so spell that again.
All right. Well,
T-A what?
T-A-N-Y.
N-Y?
N-Y. S-T-R-O-P-H-E-U-S. I'm a paleontologist, so I'm really good at weird animals.
Yeah,
and funky names.
he's a legit professor, Josh Turner.
What did y'all think of Babes while Sasquatch is Googling?
It's always delicious.
What'd you have?
The rotisserie, the smoked chicken.
Very nice.
Okay. This does
Could have
look
brought
like,
some of that up with you.
This does look like a really long-necked little...
You see the elements of plesiosaur there,
There's
but
a
yet
skeleton over here. It's a restored skeleton. If y'all want to take a look at how long that's a long freaking neck. It's like, if the body's this long, the neck is this long.
it's all neck.
And then it's got a head.
Yeah.
Like a lizard head on the end of it. If y'all want to take a look at this. Show it up there.
But,
Pretty long.
now, here's the problem. Both Tanystropheus and Plesiosaurus are ancient. They go back a hell of a lot further in time than Gigantopithecus does. All right, if Plesiosaurus comes from the Jurassic and a little bit into the Cretaceous period,
This is older?
This is way older. This is the Triassic. This is the middle part of the first age of dinosaurs.
Yeah, middle Triassic period.
Yeah, so it's multi-million years before Plesiosaurus.
It says its elongated neck, which measured 3 meters, is 10 foot long, longer than its body and tail combined.
And this is a German and Bavarian species too, if memory serves. It's found in Europe. So where the Tanystropheus connection to Champ comes from was there was an amateur researcher, somebody who spent way too many hours out there on the lake looking for this thing, and he was studying up on paleontology. He was looking for connections. He was looking for explanations. And because there are several accounts of Champ coming out on dry land, walking around a little, and it's presented as having those little legs, he saw a picture of the Tanystropheus, and he was like, I wonder if Champ could be either an evolved form of Tanystropheus, or if it could be an example of convergent evolution. Now, convergent evolution is when you have unrelated forms of animals that, because they are living in similar environments, they're doing similar things, their body plans become really, really similar. That's why sharks look like dolphins and dolphins look like fish, because they're all unrelated groups that are in the same environment and they're doing similar things. There's a type of marine reptile called an ichthyosaurus that looks for all the world like a cross between a lizard and a dolphin.
The ichthyosaurus?
The ichthyosaurus.
Yes.
You've seen those.
I know
Those are
that
cool.
one. I know that one. He uses big words, and sometimes they register with me.
And ichthyosaurus is a great Latin name because it literally means fish lizard.
Okay.
It's a lizard that looks like a fish.
Well, here, I got a question then. How big is Champ supposed to be?
According to pictures and all of this, I don't think Champ is as big as Nessie. I want to say 25 to 30 feet long.
Well, that would put it in line with...
that put it in line with the Tanny?
Yeah, because they're saying it's 10 to 20 meters long.
Okay.
And the biggest ones that they found have been like no more than 30 meters.
Okay.
And so that's 30 meters. That's
within the realms. But how would an animal that's from all the way back in the friggin' Triassic period suddenly end up in the Holocene where we are now without us knowing about it beforehand?
Cryogenics.
So somebody's doing Jurassic Park underwater?
Well, no, but think about it.
Welcome to Jurassic Park.
What if there was a situation of, the whole northern part of America was caked in ice?
And it was. But that Tanystropheus would have been ancient by the time that happened.
Right.
In the world that Tanis trophaeus lived in, it was swamps and deserts. There were no glaciation to the point that we have them now.
Yeah, but they could have lived up until that point.
Could have.
And they could have gotten frozen in ice. And if you look at, there's like lizard. I mean,
have a Tanis trophaeus popsicle.
And lizards that have been frozen and then reanimated, decades later.
They tried that with a frog, and the frog croaked.
Oh.
You know it's bad when you make the blind guy sigh. I'm sorry.
All right, so what makes Lake Champlain
special?
Yeah.
It has a monster. Most lakes don't.
Well, it's pretty deep too.
Well, and that's one of the things we can address later, is that a lot of these lakes, and lake monsters occur worldwide, but they're all within the same general latitudes and longitudes. They're within the roughly same types of environment. Something that is apparently good for whatever these animals are.
So if you look, I bet if we looked at Lake Champlain and
Loch Ness,
and you went straight across to Loch Ness, I bet they'd be pretty much.
They're relatively parallel to each other, sure.
So that goes back to the deal we were talking about Nessie. If their suckers are reptiles, Lake Champlain, I guarantee you, is going to be a cold ass lake. So. Reptiles don't live in the cold, right? What do y'all think?
No.
So we talk about weird shit.
This is something mammalian. This is something, or, and this is where Matt loves when I make this confession. Maybe the animals that we talk about in paleontology, especially some of the reptiles, maybe we don't quite understand their physiology and their anatomy as well as we think they do. Maybe there's endothermic and there's ectothermic. Endothermic is warm-blooded. Ectothermic is cold-blooded. Maybe there's a happy medium. Maybe there's something that's kind of...
Endo-ecto?
Yeah, endo-ecto. And it's...
Erector sets. I used to have one of those.
I knew that was coming.
Erector sets. But, no, I get what you're saying.
Right.
I really do. But at the same...
But it's fun to speculate. It's fun to get those mental wheels turning.
When we were had our Bigfoot deal going not too long ago, I was thinking about there was a giant monkey called, or giant gorilla called Gigantopithecus. and it's supposed to be like the largest. And I was thinking they had a freaking skeleton of this thing. No, it's a piece of jaw that they've decided, okay, we're just going to build the rest of it around.
Okay.
And I never knew this. And it literally is just one sliver of a jaw that they've decided that, this is...
It's like, hey, let's build a whole animal around this.
Right.
Which happens so often.
It could have been a retarded monkey with a big head and a little body, Can
we say that on the radio? Can we say retarded monkey? Special needs orangutan? And orangutan's not a monkey because orangutans don't have tails.
Yeah,
monkeys
they do right turn, Clyde.
All right.
I remember that.
All right, so let's end it like we did with Nessie. In terms of Champ, I am going to give them a maybe because of the echolocation and because of the 300 years worth of stories. So I'm going to give them a maybe.
Okay.
It's not a yes, it's not a no, it's a maybe.
Mr. Chad?
Nope.
And I've heard of Champ, but I don't know. I've always been like, these people just want to compete with Nessie.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
it's a better photo though than they have of Nessie.
Yeah, but to me, honestly,
you think that's a stick?
That does look like a warped. Show this to Kanan. Me and him been in the woods a lot. Don't that look like an old floating log?
Not like he says it.
That sounds scary.
Yeah, thank you.
That maybe rolled with the waves and stuff like that.
I can see that.
You never know. But could you also see that potentially being an unknown type of animal?
It looks really close to the Nessie pictures that I've seen.
Yeah.
But I don't see anything unique about Lake Champlain that would
Well,
Now,
okay,
see,
then what if there's...
what I'm calling bullshit on this picture, it's a rounded head. It doesn't have... Everybody describes Champ horse's style head, which is reminiscent of like a...
maybe they're evolving.
well, you know, like a... what's the little...
Seahorse?
Seahorse.
There we
That's the word.
Come on, boy, you got it. That's a good Sasquatch. Use a good Sasquatch.
I get it. But, and see, this has none of the characteristics of any of the descriptions of Champ that they say. This looks like...
I'd be like, yeah, that's just a tree stump. I'm going to go out there and pull it back to shore, and you turn around, and it's Canadian Loch Ness Monster, and it bites your head off.
But think of it. If you see something floating in the water out in the woods, you ain't going to tell you to take one freaking picture. My phone will sit there and go, zing, 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 and just take a series of pictures. And it's just as easy to hit that little button to the side that says video. You know, how old is this one, this picture?
That was from the 70s.
But, I mean, you click, you know, the little wind, click, wind, click, wind.
You can get a series. Who in their right mind, they see that, they're going to take one picture and go,
And
I hope that comes out.
Wasn't she a professional photographer?
Yes, she was.
There we go.
But I think she was starstruck. She was like, oh my God, this is better than a movie star. This is better than the president. This is a prehistoric amphibian from the late Cretaceous that needs about 350. Tell me you got that reference. South Park? Nothing? Okay, sorry.
So this is what I gotta call bullshit. So I'm gonna blow it up with my shotgun. You ready? And then I'm gonna zap it. Can y'all hear that over there?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, Champ, don't worry. I'm here for you. All right. So our next one. How are we doing on time?
Oh,
we got time to cover everybody. Can we go over?
I tell you what. Let's go into a little commercial break, and we will come back and do a few. Finish out the last 30 minutes of the show.
Nice music.
You like that? I found that at the garage sale.
Spared no expense.
Yeah, spared no expense. We do a lot of movie references in here, and the people on Facebook are going, huh? I mean, we do obscure movie quotes.
You know what the greatest movie quote of all time is? What's and I use it so often that a friend of mine who knows the movie that it's come from has actually told me to shut up on it. Best movie quote of all time.
Don't say the movie, just say the quote.
Let's show this prehistoric bitch how we do things downtown. You know what that's from?
Oh, I should.
Then I'll tell you my favorite movie.
Ghostbusters.
Yeah. And the flowers are still standing.
Okay, we're at commercial.
Aim for the flat top.
Okay, my favorite movie quote of all time, and see if y'all can tell me. You might get it. You might be too young, Josh. I came in here to chew bubblegum and kick some ass, and I'm all out of bubblegum.
I thought that was Duke Nukem.
Huh?
I think Duke Nukem used it.
Duke Nukem used it, but this goes back to... Let's put it this way. He was my... No, but... It was my favorite wrestler of all time, and I got to wrestle him in 1992. No, 1990. 1990. Wow, I got to wrestle him. But it was one of his really bad movies. But, you know?
I know it because I've seen it, and
They Live. Where he finds the glasses that shows...
That let him see the aliens.
Yeah. These special glasses showed everybody which people were aliens and everything, and he goes into this bank and he got these double shotguns. He goes, I come in here to chew bubblegum and kick some ass, and I'm all out of bubblegum.
All right, how about this one? Oh crap, how does it go? I had it. Hokey religions and ancient weapons are no match for a good blaster at your side.
Oh, give us some credit.
Okay.
He's leaning back like that, and he's looking at Guido, and in a minute, and blows Guido away. Come on.
It was a Rhodian, not an Italian.
That was from Star Wars. That was Han Solo.
Don't make such a fuss. I'm just plain yogurt.
Oh, your Schwartz is bigger than mine is.
Okay, what's this one from?
Directly across from the high school. address.
I can't breathe in this thing.
Spaceballs. What did you see? I didn't see anything, sir. We didn't see you playing with your dolls again.
Your home is one of the biggest investments you'll ever make.
We have so much fun. Hey, what do you think of that stuff? That's the stuff I was telling you about the deal we can get.
I think we're going to need a bigger boat.
So take that with you. Take it to work.
Residential or commercial, they do it.
Mungo only
See how many
pawn
orders we can get
in
for
Game
it.
of Life.
9293. They're AAA rated with the better business
Anybody?
bureau.
Mungo only pawn in Game of Life.
Again, that's 817.
You should know that one.
I know that
Hell
one.
yeah, I made my let me turn this mic off. Okay. I made my youngest son-in-law watch that, and he's black.
We have a
And
competition girls team.
he was crying through
And trains year round. We also offer birthday parties. For more information,
Yeah, Blazing Saddles.
817-295-1029, and also check out our Facebook page.
What is your name?
Laura.
Laura. Nice to meet you. Oh, wait a minute. Hang on.
My phone's dead.
He had the roasted chicken. What did you have?
The same thing.
Are you from Burleson?
No, I grew up in Washington State.
And we're back, folks, with Johnson County Paranormal on the Friday night with Professor Josh Turner. I am the Sasquatch behind the keyboard, and we got special guest Chad Duncan from Where You Want to Go Eat, and we got some audience members, Miss Kaylin and Mr. Kaylin and Laura. Why can I not remember that? Anyway,
Probably what's in that glass.
Probably
That's
called
why.
a boozer.
no, he's got it now. Kaylin's got it now.
All right, so prior to the stories that we've talked about before,
Teen hates it.
these guys, these sea serpents have been relatively benign towards humans. They're relatively harmless, if you will. The next one we're going to talk about may not be quite the same way, at least towards some other stuff. Let's talk about Ogopogo. Now, Ogopogo is one that comes from the shores of Lake Okanagan in British Columbia.
Is that the one that's supposed to block the river?
That's Mokele Mbembe. That's
Okay.
the African. That's the brontosaur that we'll get to in a few weeks. Now, when the colonists were coming to, when they were settling this part of Canada, they wanted to go out into some of the islands that were on this lake. And they had made friends with the Indians. And the Indians told them, they said, you don't want to go in that water without offering some kind of appeasement, without offering some kind of, basically throwing bait over here so that you can go over there without having to distract the creature that lives in there. And the white settlers, in their infinite knowledge, said, oh yeah, you're nuts. We'll go across, we'll be fine. So there was a gentleman that took a team of horses. He was going to let the horses swim across. And this was not a terribly wide lake. Well, he's sending the horses across. He's following them on a boat. Of the 6 horses that make it, or the 6 horses that he sends across, 4 of them make it. 2 of them were dragged underwater by something. And they didn't come back. It was a quick...
There's hippos, there's...
The hippos eat horses?
Well, but no, there's crocodiles, there's alligators. They take them down for a death row. You ain't going to see something come up.
But would you expect crocodiles and alligators in the Canadian lake?
Oh, Canadian lake?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Never mind. Scratch that. I was thinking South America.
No.
British Columbia.
British Columbia.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, evidence for this creature is limited to frequent but unclear underwater photos, and actually some film of it, of something cruising across the surface of the lake, just under the water, but kicking up waves, kind of like the wake of a boat.
Ogopogo.
Ogopogo, and that's just a cool name. I like that. Ogopogo.
Sounds like a dance from the 70s. Do the Ogopogo.
Or a tropical disease. Get a pill for that. And Ogopogo may represent a kind of primitive serpentine whale like the ever-blamed Basilosaurus. Look up a Basilosaurus on Google.
Okay, hang on. Let me pull that up. All right. A what?
It's called a Basilosaurus. It's not nearly as hard to spell as Tanistropheus.
B-A-S-I-L. Oh,
S-I-L-O.
O. Saurus?
Saurus.
It's a good thing you're a professor. You know all this stuff.
Yeah, I'm a huge nerd, and I haven't had a girlfriend in 2 years. So what does that
Well,
tell
that
you?
thing looks like a sturgeon with almost like a.
But thank you for that, Chad, and thank you for laughing. That was nice.
Almost with like a dolphin face with a blowhole on its nose.
But do you see how that could get blamed for sea serpent sightings too?
Yeah. But then you got sturgeons. Now that sucker's got some wicked teeth, though. Can y'all see that in that screen over there?
That's a really professional artist rendering of a Basilosaurus. Kind of like a snake from hell with a dolphin's tail. That rhymed. I like that.
Snake from hell with a dolphin's tail, do-da.
What do you do with a drunken sailor? What do you do with a drunken sailor? So, in terms of Basilosaurus and Ogopogo, maybe. Something ate those horses. And that story is told.
Well, that's one story.
Well, they don't talk about all the people that this thing ate. And I didn't want to bring it up because there's a lady in the room.
I'll talk about it.
I'm making that up.
She's with Caleb.
And she's from Washington.
Yeah.
I thought something smelled funny in it.
You're not a tree hugger, though, right? You're in Texas, so you're not one of them tree huggers like up there.
She's a redhead. We shouldn't piss those off. Bad things happen when you do that. All right, so to me, I think there's a lot more likelihood for there being unknown aquatic animals than I think there are unknown terrestrial animals in some instances. There's just more places to hide. There's more things that we don't know about. I mean, something in Lake Champlain was echolocating. Something had to be doing that. We don't know of any, traditional animals in there that can do that. That's got to mean that there's something there.
But this legend of Ogopogo, I mean, there could be a lesson in this, that this person did not give a sacrifice. Look what happened to them.
Sure. It could very well be a morality tale. You're absolutely right. Could be a hungry aquatic dinosaur that likes to taste a horse. And that's a horse of a different color.
Of course.
Can I get an A? And the horse you rode in on. But you guys are sorry. Y'all came up for this, aren't you?
You could be doing the hokey pokey.
Yeah. But you're
did y'all hear the hokey pokey down there when y'all was eating? Yeah, we hear it up here all the damn time, too. I hate that freaking song. I'm getting to where I really hate Freddie Fender because his voice just bleeds through up here.
But if anyone from Babe's Chicken is listening to tonight's episode, we'd love some fried chicken or catfish. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Let's send up some rolls with some sorghum.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not a big fan of the salad, though. Did you guys eat the salad?
No,
I don't like it. I don't like it.
It's sugar.
It's gross.
It's sugar.
No, it's nasty.
You are crazy.
She liked it.
But all it is just lettuce. I mean,
it's lettuce and like.
It's sugar.
Yeah.
Lettuce and
motor
sugar.
oil.
But then again, so is the corn. Just has something so sweet you can't stop eating.
The mashed potatoes are heavenly.
All right. So what are we saying on Ogopogo? Morality myth? Plausible?
Yeah, I'm gonna say maybe. Oh hell, I'll give it a sure. Yeah, I'll say it's real.
That's my brain trying to wrap around Ogopogo.
See, and I had two more that I kind of skipped over, but.
Well, I don't know. That's Canadian sea monsters. That I got friends in Canada. Me and Tina both do, and
I have friends in low places.
Last week we're sitting and we're talking British Columbia and Vancouver area and stuff like that, and she's doing Facebook. Or face chats or Zoom calls or whatever, Skype or whatever with some of these people. And,
I'm on the Twitter.
I'm on the Twitter, and our weather's down here. There's like 6 foot of snow behind them, and they're dressed up like Eskimos, and they're like, it's a lot warmer today, eh?
Don't you know?
So,
hello, eh?
Hey, you hoser.
Take off, eh?
Okay, so just before you say that one's plausible, I've just got to say it. Just being
Feel free, please.
Out of all the stories we're talking about, this is a lake that's easily crossable by horse with a boat.
Yeah.
There's nothing unique about this lake. It's a legend, Ogopogo. I love the name. I'm told it.
Ogopogo, Ogopogo. Sounds like something that pissed off Indian would chant.
But
I'm sorry, pissed off Native American.
First Nationer. That's the if you want to know the politically correct term, First Nationer.
Okay.
But I just don't. They didn't give a tribute to the lake, so thus this is what's happened.
The song just clicked on me. You kept doing the Ogopogo. Hooked on a feeling. I'm sorry, I just had to go there.
Where's the guitar?
Yeah. Ooga baga. Y'all ain't never heard that song?
Oh yeah.
I was thinking, I know that song. But yeah, I'm just...
Ogopogo, he's probably not real. Ogopogo, sounds like Davy Crockett.
Yeah, it's bad.
Yeah, we have fun.
Loch Ness, totally sea. Access to the ocean. It's 700 something feet deep. You know.
Yeah.
It can spawn. It's got access to the ocean. It can go in and out. Yes, I can see that. Coming in to spawn, maybe feed.
Sure.
Maybe look for a girlfriend.
Sure.
You know.
Or a boyfriend.
Or it could be like Elephant Graveyard. Could be coming there to die. You know. You never know.
And that's why we don't have Loch Ness monsters anymore, because they're all dead at the bottom of the lake. That accounts for the peat and the smell.
Yeah. And my ex-wife. No.
Bitter, party of one, your table is ready. Bitter, party of one, your table is ready.
I'm not bitter about her. We had a good marriage. We were like Forrest Gump and Jeannie.
Mm-hmm.
I was retarded and she was a whore.
I found a broom in the... Well, I found a broom at my office today, and it scared me for a minute. I thought Kim had come in for a job interview.
Oh, there you go. Oh. I love my little sound effects over here. I got all kinds of shit.
Yeah, and so it begins, the steady downgrade. If anyone is out there still listening with us tonight and would like to give us a call back,
call Sasquatch's phone number.
Yeah, call Sasquatch's phone number again and
yeah, it is.
Talk to us.
It was
682-970-4756. And we're only doing it this week on my phone because I can't get the Skype up.
And it was very sweet of Crystal to call.
What's that?
Yes, it
was
was.
Very sweet of Crystal to call. April 23rd.
Yes.
Plug in her show.
Yep.
That wasn't self-serving at all, but good for you, Crystal. We love you, Crystal.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. She seems like a very sweet lady.
I thought she was a little kid.
I think, I don't know. Couldn't figure it out.
So I'm with you, kind of pulling everything back from what I'm hearing. The sea monsters, the whole legends, you've got, sailors that have been at sea for long periods of time. You got the scurvy, you got
Pirates of the Caribbean.
You got all this different, the
pirates
alcohol.
that are literally horny. They haven't seen anything but their shipmates for, and
I'm just
what
trying
they
to...
and they're not drinking water. They're drinking grog.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
And do y'all know what grog is? You do know what grog is.
It's a frog with a speech impediment. Grog. Grog.
But, they can't drink the water because the water spoils, but rum does.
It's salty. So that's another reason.
They mix it with, whatever they have on hand to thin it down a little bit. So, yeah. And then, you've got... When they made stuff with tin cans, food in there was no preservatives. They used to use soldering irons to seal them up, and they start expanding after a while, and they start getting little stuff growing in them. That can cause hallucinations. You eat enough.
Cabin fever has probably set in a few times.
Yeah, and so yeah, I can see plausible the legend of sea monsters coming about. You look at a lot of the old maps. There be monsters here.
Reckon, damn near killed them.
That's another movie reference.
Yes, it is.
So I can see where there would be a legend that some of these things would come from.
We got our answer. She's 24 years old.
Good for you. All right.
Nessie makes sense. I like the depth of the lake. That shows some unique qualities.
And Nessie appreciates about the faith in us. She really does.
Now, here's the
top of the morning to you, my friend.
That's Irish.
That's Irish. Yeah,
I'm an American. It's all the same.
I can't do it. So
I'm the Loch Ness Monster, Pilgrim. All right.
Here's something unique about the Highlands. Okay.
There are complete opposites of the lowlands. That's a bad joke. I'm sorry. Anyways.
At the summer solstice, do you know how long the days are there? So if we're trying to compare Lake Champlain to... I'm trying to be serious here for a moment there, Professor. So if we're comparing that same latitude? Longitude.
Yes.
Longitude. Okay. At the summer solstice, I was there. I was in Scotland. The sun rises at like 5:45, and we're sitting there just getting wasted on Guinness, and this fog rolls in, and I'm like, dang, have we been drinking here all day? It was 10:30 at night, and it was still sunny.
Okay.
So,
and that's on June 21st, the summer solstice, which is my birthday. I know that. Longest day of the year. So every 7 years is fun.
Unique climate, unique area. Could be something that's...
So life finds a way.
And here's another interesting fact about Loch Ness Monster. Scotland Yard totally believes about it. And, you know, Scotland Yard is like our FBI or CIA or whatever and everything. And they're like...
Yeah, and you can tie that story back into Bigfoot. Because when Grover Kratz, who was a forensic anthropologist, found a really nicely preserved Bigfoot trackway, the tracks were so well preserved that they had dermal ridges in the toes. You could basically see the fingerprints of the toes in the track. Being a good scientist, he documented his discovery, and he sent it off for basically, he was looking for people to find the same thing that he did. He sent them to the FBI crime lab, and he sent them to Scotland Yard. Both the FBI and Scotland Yard found those dermal ridges. Mm-hmm. They found those fingerprints. And Scotland Yard told him something really funny. They said, you know, you've got the same problem that we have. You have something big and unknown walking around in your forest. We have something big and unknown swimming around in one of our lakes. And, you know, that's a pretty powerful statement for a respected government organization like Scotland Yard to make about something that's sitting in that safe spot just between reality and fantasy. That shows a certain amount of belief, I think.
Mm-hmm. You're darn tootin'.
All right, Pilgrim, I tell you what we're going to do.
But yeah, you know, nothing against our government. But you know, you've got a prominent government officials and taking a stance. They're saying, saying, yeah, we've got something here, and we can't find it, but it's
not allowed to kill it.
Yep, not allowed to kill it. Loch Ness Monster is protected.
Oh,
and Bigfoot is protected in certain areas. But you get up to the Himalayas where the Yeti is.
And the Chinese gave the Yeti, it's like 6 million acre preserve.
Yes. The Chinese, they said this land, people can go there, but that's it. But this is for the Yeti. And
now, go ahead.
If you go to the Himalayas and you want to go look for a Yeti, you better get with that government because you have to apply for that. They have to send the right people with you, and
anything you find, they have to give their government blessing before you do a press release.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what's funny about the Loch Ness Monster is they believe in the Loch Ness Monster so much that they gave it a really cool Latin scientific name, Necessiterus rhomboteryx,
right on.
which means the Loch Ness Monster with a diamond fin. And we didn't get to that part of the Loch Ness Monster. We didn't get to that section.
Show our audience over here some of the pictures that we've got of Loch Ness.
That's a diamond-shaped flipper.
Yes, I've seen that.
There ain't nothing in that lake that should look anything like that.
No.
But yeah, there's Nessie's diamond flipper. And this one, I think I took this picture just to kind of illustrate the problem with lake monsters. That could be anything.
That looks more like a buoy.
Yeah, it could be.
There's no shape other than like a big cork or something floating in there, like a pier, like a piece of pier that pier wood that has a foam around it broke loose and it's just kind of floating along. To me, that's what that looks like.
Now, here is a pair of Loch Ness monsters as they're believed by some to look in life. Now, that is the classic plesiosaur body plan.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's not just one Nessie, that's two Nessies. Because, again, for something to have endured for 1,500 years at least, there's got to be a breeding population.
Yeah.
Now, here's the other photo that was taken with, shortly thereafter, the diamond flipper photo. That's the one where it might be coming up from the bottoms, the depths. Got the head up here, the neck, and one or two of the flippers down there. This is the one that we didn't get to. That is maybe the preserved carcass of a Cadborosaurus.
Oh, yeah.
And then that's kind of a...
which is no relation to the Cadbury egg.
No, it's not. And probably tastes completely different.
Yeah, that's more of a Swedish delicacy.
Yeah, and here's the Cadborosaurus stuff.
We need to do a challenge, by the way. We need to do 2 challenges with your show, Chad.
All right.
That hot chip,
that one, I guess.
Hot chip challenge, the taco challenge or whatever.
Yeah.
But we need to get that can of that Swedish fish that is supposed to be
the lutefisk,
the stinkiest thing that and.
I see that one.
It's supposed to be the smelliest. It's a rotted fish delicacy over there. And, they said the smell is horrendous and the taste is like, we need to do a challenge. And I challenge Kaylin to come up here and do that with us.
I think we're going to need to have some more of what's in that jar before we do this challenge.
I got your hookup.
All right.
I got your hookup.
I'll order the fish. You order the
chip. The chip is like $60. And it's supposed to be so freaking hot. It's made from the ghost pepper. Ghost chili pepper. And
which is grown by the inmates of a haunted Venezuelan insane asylum. I have a speech impediment sometimes and I can't talk. So I think we need to do the show like this.
Ogopogo.
Ogopogo, yes. Ogopogo is a famous Canadian thief. I'm high on believing.
Well, fellers, it's getting to be that time. And I'm going to add this little song on.
And we would like to thank each and every one of you guys for tuning in to us tonight. And special thanks to all of our visitors here in the audience. And we will see y'all next time.
Y'all stay tuned on the radio side of this. After this short commercial break starts our brand new segment for Friday night, Suspense Friday Night. We have 2 30-minute shows back to back. Old radio classic suspense shows. Y'all stay tuned, listen to it, curl up, get spooky, and I tell you what, this is just cool.
That's good stuff.
It's good stuff. But I do apologize. I announced that the first 2 episodes would be called The Burning Court and A Wet Day, but I left the wrong... I grabbed the wrong memory stick, so now we have Will You Something, and then it goes into...
Will You Something Tonight, something,
and then it goes into the customer. So I've listened to a whole bunch of them. These are all great. In
a world where radio programs are broadcast on Facebook,
a whole lot of fun.
One man dares to relive the past. That man is the Sasquatch. Bum, bum, bum.
Well, see y'all next Friday, guys.
See you next Friday, guys. Have a good night.
Tuesday night, the Joko Outlaw Show starts back with me and Joe Erwinski, and we've got Red Dirt recording artist Miles Williams coming in. going to be releasing his new single, and we will also be releasing the new singles from Neil McCoy, Cowboy Troy, and Steve Helms, and Sonny Burgess that night as well.
Very cool.
What time is that show?
That is on 7 to 9 p.m. Central Standard Time on Tuesday nights. And Joe Orwinski is going to be sitting in the hot seat over there, and I'm going to be running the boards for him. Next Thursday night on the True Sasquatch Show, we have Kill the Jabberwocky coming in. They're a local rock band. They're going to come in and play their unique blend of rock and roll. And tell you what, we got all kinds of new stuff going on. It's just getting bigger. Y'all stay tuned tomorrow night for Cruising with Tina Lynn from 7 to 9 p.m. We're going to be out and about all through at the Fort Worth PD Charity Car Show tomorrow with Brian Zimmerman and doing go lives on that. So y'all stay tuned on the Facebook page. We got lots of great stuff coming up in the future, and we'll be making more and more announcements. And y'all have a good one.
See you next time.
Is a family-owned and operated Italian restaurant where we serve authentic Italian cuisine. Great pride is taken in the preparation of our food, and only quality ingredients are used. We also serve steaks, seafood, and hand-tossed pizzas.
Well, this is good for y'all as it was for us.
Oh, yeah. The food speaks for itself, so allow us the pleasure of providing you with an amazing dining experience at Postifino. Owens Furniture has the goal.
I like
of
also
bringing
listening at
quality
home.
wood
I mean,
furniture
it's
to
nice.
people that
I
want
like
great
listening to
furniture,
y'all.
from rustic
Well, thank
to
you.
That's why I
traditional
tune in on
and
Friday.
Well,
modern.
you know, that new pickup truck I bought doesn't have a stereo in there. And so I put my phone over here, and I listen to Joe Bell all the time when I'm driving around.
Quality for a great price. The biggest.
What happened?